today we are going to discuss a module which would fall in the Indian Politics paper, Indian Politics Part 1. This paper is coordinated by Professor Ajay Mehra of Delhi University. The module is titled Governments in States, Legislature, Governor and Chief Minister. This module has been authored by Dr. Sashikant Pandey. Dr. Sashikant Pandey is a professor of Indian politics from Baba Sahib Ambedkar Central University, Lucknow. So in this module, we would be discussing about the powers and the functions of the governor in the Indian political system. We would also discuss analyze the powers and functions of the chief minister and also the composition and the function of the legislature in the states in India. The kind of a federal polity we have in India. In India, we have a federal polity, and as we all know that there is a 7th schedule and a wide Article 246 which distribute the subjects under the jurisdiction of the state government as well as the central government. Division of power, obviously, I have told you, and also we have independent judiciary. So, Indian polity fulfills all those essential prerequisites which qualifies it as a federal polity. So India can be considered as a parliamentary federal polity. We have a parliamentary system and not the presidential system. We have a federal system and not a unitary system. And when we talk about federal system, we do talk about the shared power, we talk about the shared sovereignty, and we talk about at least presence of two governments which have constitutional basis of power, their own constitutional basis. So their power emanate from the constitution and they don't have the delegated power. In fact, in our constitution, we have a third tier also as a result of the 73rd and 74th Amendment which were passed in 1992, implemented in 1993, and under which we have the local body government, local governments both at the village level, rural India, which we call Panchayati Raj institutions, and also we have the urban local bodies. So we have a kind of division of powers. We have truly federal polity, though we have the many features which underline the unitary nature of Indian polity. Let us talk about the legislative bodies of state level. See, the states can have a bicameral legislature, they can have a unicameral legislature. There are at least 6 states which have a bicameral legislature. I can name some of them like Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Bihar, UP, Jammu and Kashmir, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. They all have a bicameral state legislature. Whereas most of the states in India, there are 29 states, so most of the states in India have unicameral, and also Puducherry and Delhi, which are union territories, but they have their own legislative assembly. They also have a unicameral legislative assembly, and they don't have the legislative council. Now, as we all know that the members of the legislative assemblies are directly elected by the people, whereas legislative council, 1/6 member are nominated for showing excellence in the field, either of the field like the art, science, literature, social service or cooperative, and rest of the members are indirectly elected by an electoral college consisting of the representative of the. For example, money bill can be introduced only in the legislative assembly. Money bill has to be certified by the legislative assembly speaker that it is a money bill. The money bill cannot be introduced in the legislative council. And once a money bill has been passed by the Vidhan Sabha, it goes to the Vidhan Parishad. Vidhan Parishad cannot reject the money bill. Vidhan Parishad can at most keep the money bill for 14 days. After that, it would be considered as passed by the both houses of the state legislature. The legislative council can return the money bill with its amendment proposal, and if the amendment proposals are not acceptable to the Vidhan Sabha, then it would be assumed that the money bill has been passed by the both houses of the parliament. So that way, on the money bill, legislative assembly has a upper hand over the legislative council. When it comes to the ordinary bill obviously legislative bill can be introduced either in the Vidhan Sabha or in the Vidhan Parishad. But once there is a disagreement between the Vidhan Sabha and Vidhan Parishad, Legislative Assembly and Legislative Council, then what the Legislative Council powers are limited. Unlike in the case of the Parliament, where there is a provision of a joint session of the both houses of the Parliament to break the constitutional deadlock, in the case of the state, there is no such provision of calling the joint session of the state legislature. So in that case, what happens is that if a bill has been passed by the Legislative Assembly, it goes to the Legislative Council, and if the Legislative Council rejects the bill, or it sits upon the ordinary bill for 3 months, or the bill is passed by the state legislative council with amendments which are not acceptable to the legislative assembly, then the legislative assembly can pass the bill in the original form and send it back to the legislative council. And in this case, legislative council can delay it for another 1 month. For example, money bill can be introduced only in the legislative assembly. Money bill has to be certified by the legislative assembly speaker that it is a money bill. The money bill cannot be introduced in the legislative council. And once a money bill has been passed by the Vidhan Sabha, it goes to the Vidhan Parishad. Vidhan Parishad cannot reject a money bill. There is a difference of the number. Like legislative council, maximum number cannot be more than 1/3 of the total strength of the legislative assembly. And legislative assembly can have maximum 500 members and minimum 60 members, but there are states like Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, Goa, where they have been allowed to have the lesser number of the legislators because of their population. So this is something which should be noted. And then, as I said, the legislative council members cannot be more than 1/3 of the total strength of the legislative assembly. As for the speaker and the deputy speaker is concerned, they have to be a member of the legislative assembly. They are elected by the legislative assembly. They can be removed by total strength, the majority of the total strength of the Vidhan Sabha, by giving 14 days. That in all the matters, except in the matter of the ordinance needs to be passed by both legislative assembly as well as by the legislative council by simple majority. Only then the ordinance would be considered as ratified by the state legislature. So this is one situation where the legislative assembly and legislative council have equal powers. In other matters, ordinary bill and the money bill and the finance bill, legislative council has really not having equal power as the legislative assembly. As far as the governor is concerned, remember that the governor is the ceremonial position, but the governor is also considered as the constitutional head of the state. And if you go by the Sarkaria Commission recommendation, Sarkaria Commission was of the opinion that though the governor holds office during the pleasure of the president, the governor position is very important, and it's not only merely a ceremonial, but it's a very not merely decorative or ceremonial, but it's also a very important position. And the Sarkaria Commission recommended that only the eminent people should be appointed as the governor. It also recommended that the person who belongs to the state should not be appointed as governor of the same state. The Sarkaria Commission also recommended that the person who has been active in the politics in the recent times should not be appointed as the governor of a state, because it should be not like a political partisan position. The governor should be impartial. Governor should be over and above the petty party politics. And the Sarkaria Commission also recommended that before appointing the governor, the concerned state government should be consulted, though the consultation would not be binding. And in fact, it also recommended that the governor should not be removed from his office, or his tenure should not be cut short, or it should not be transferred until unless there is very essential need to do that. There are extraordinary circumstances. Otherwise, governor should not be disturbed from his post, and from his tenure. And governor should be allowed to continue for 5 years. That is the normal tenure of the governor. As far as the governor is concerned, as I said, that the governor, all the executive power of the state shall remain in the office of the governor, though the governor under Article 163 is supposed to act on the advice of the Council of Ministers. But here it must be noted that under Article 74, the President of India is also bound by the is to act on the advice of the Council of Ministers, but the wording in the Article 74 is that there shall be a Council of Ministers with the Prime Minister at its head to aid and advise the President, who shall act in accordance with such advice. Almost the same language is there in the case of Article 163 also, which refers to the Governor relations with the Council of Ministers. But here, the governor doesn't have the power to ask the council minister to reconsider the advice. Here, what the governor can do, the governor can use his discretionary power not to accept the advice of the council of minister. So in many cases, we have seen that the governor, acting at the behest of the center, has refused to accept the advice of the chief minister. And also, as we know that under Article 200, the governor can not only withhold, see, if there is an ordinary bill or a money bill, even if it is passed by the state legislature, it goes to the governor for his assent. Governor has the following option. Governor can give his assent, the bill would become law. Governor can withhold his assent, even the money bill can be withheld by the governor, and the bill would not become the law. But then under Article 200, the governor, Article 200 of the Constitution of India, governor can reserve a bill, whether it's an ordinary bill or a money bill, for the consideration of the president. The bill is reserved by the governor for the consideration of the president, then the governor role is not there. It is up to the president whether the president can give his assent, president can withhold his assent, president can ask the state legislature to reconsider the bill. But even if the bill is reconsidered, this is a very important factor, that even if a bill is reconsidered by the state legislature, the president can still refuse to give his assent. And there is no stipulated time period under which the president has to give his assent or president has to take his decision. So virtually president has a veto power. The governor also has lots of administrative power. Governor appoints the Advocate General of the state, and the Advocate General holds office during the pleasure of the governor. Governor also appoints the State Election Commissioner, though a State Election Commissioner who holds the election for the panchayats and the urban bodies cannot be removed by the governor. He or she can be removed only by the President of India in the manner of a High Court judge. The governor also appoints the State Public Service Commission member, State Public Service Commission chairman. Governor can suspend them, but again, just like the State Election Commissioner, State Public Service Commission member and State Public Service Commission chairman cannot be removed by the governor, can be removed only by the President of India. Once case goes to the Supreme Court for a proper inquiry and the Supreme Court indicts the member of the State Public Service Commission, only then the State Public Service Commission member can be removed by the President. But the appointments are made by the governor. Appointment of the State Election Commissioner, appointment of the State Public Service Commission is appointed by the member of the State Finance Commission every 5 years to report about the status of the financial status of the panchayat, to give recommendation about the distribution of the revenue between the state government and the panchayat government, and to recommend about the taxation power of the panchayats. Again, the finance commission members are appointed by the governor. As you know, under Article 161, governor has also got the power to grant pardon, reprieve or respite for the punishment which has been given for violating doing any crime against the law, the matter to which the executive power of the state extends. Governor also has the discretionary power. I have already said that under Article 163, governor can use his discretion not to accept the advice of the Council of Ministers, and for that he cannot be liable to be called in the court of law. And there also, like the governor power to reserve any bill for the consideration of the president, there are certain matters, like the Constitution says that if the bill is related to the powers of the High Court or the Central State Relation, then the governor must reserve the bill for the consideration of the president. But otherwise also, the governor can use his discretion and can reserve any bill for the consideration of the president. And as you know, the Sarkaria Commission recommendations have also been favorable. Then you have the SR Bomai case. Now it is said that the governor cannot recommend, governor report should be there with the president before the president takes a call whether to impose president's rule in a particular state or not. As well The relationship between the chief minister and the governor is concerned, it is very clear that it is just like the relationship between the president and the prime minister, in the sense that the chief minister also has the duty to inform the governor about any important legislative measures or any administrative decision which is being contemplated by the state government, and the governor can himself also ask for such kind of information, and it shall be the duty of the chief minister to inform the governor about the administrative decisions or any legislative measure if his or her government is contemplating to bring about. You have the incidents like Thakur Ram Lal, you have incidents where the governor have imposed the, like you can refer to the Jagmohan, Governor Jagmohan in Jammu and Kashmir. There are lots of cases where the governors have acted in haste, and the governors have been seen as acting at the behest of the center. As such, we can say that the position of the governor is very important, and the governor should really be a non-partisan person, should be the chief minister, concerned chief minister should be consulted by the president, by the government of the day, and it should not be like what happened in the case of before Governor Govind be there, the governor of Bihar, the earlier governor who succeeded about him. There was a lot of tension between the chief minister and the Nitish Kumar and the then governor, which really did not help the smooth working of the constitutional system in the constitutional polity in India. So, finally, to conclude, we can argue that the Sattariya Commission recommendation must be accepted. The concerned chief minister of a state, even if the chief minister belongs to a opposition party, should be consulted by the president, should be consulted by the government before making the appointment. Consultation, of course, would not be binding, but there should be consultation so that there can be a harmonious relationship between the chief minister and the governor, which is very important for the smooth functioning of the state government. And likewise, wherever the governors have been given a special power, like in Nagaland and some states of India, especially in the northeast, in the name of safeguarding the tribal interest or safeguarding the national security, these powers have to be these powers are not to be misused, and they should be used with greater sense of responsibility by the governors, so that constitution makers' objectives can be fulfilled. And also we can refer like that the governor, once they have become governor, they should not go back to the active politics. They should not join politics after demitting the office of the governor. And Sattariya Commission recommendation was very apt that only those people should be consulted for the post of governor who have not been really very active in the politics in the years preceding their appointment as the governor. Also, we should have an eminent person, so it should not be that those who are rejected by the electorate, they should be brought as the governor as their reward for their long-term life. The governor should be active people. There should be some people who can contribute, who can play a very active role in ensuring that the Council of Ministers perform their duty, the state legislature works smoothly, because one of the job of the governor is also to call the session, to call the special session. The governor can also address single house of the state legislature. So all these things are very important, especially in the present time when the state chief ministers are becoming more and more powerful, more and more effective, and the complexity of the governance is becoming a very complex issue. So there is no fun in appointing the people who are not really capable, the people who have lost the elections, in order to give them the kind of retirement benefit by making them governor. So governors should be an active agent of the center, but he should also be the agent for the smooth working of the state government. And the governors, with their vast experience, can always help out the state chief minister in having a better outcome. And then also governors should not come only from the ruling party. Governors should come from all walks of life, from the opposition party, also from the literary world, from the academic world. They should be there and they should contribute to the working of, to the progress of the state where they work. And as I said, that their tenure should not be curtailed, and they should not be destabilized. There should be a politics of vendetta against the governors. The governors have been seen with suspicion. Governors have been seen with a kind of sense of having a kind of loyalty. Like one can refer to like the case of Jammu and Kashmir, where you have the provision under Section 92 of the J&K Constitution about the governor's rule, where the governor can really impose governor's rule and can become all powerful. Even in the case of the state emergency under Article 356, the state governments have been dismissed, and the governors have got the executive power, which is delegated to him by the president, and the governors become all powerful, and there is a kind of democratic deficit in those states. So there it's very important that we should have a governor who should play a very active role at the state level. He should be seen as a friend of the state government, and he should really be linked between the state government and the central government, being the representative of the central government, and should not just be seen as a kind of agent of the central government acting at the behest of the central government, but he should be acting on behalf of the central government and also in cooperation with the state government. Only then the position of the governor can be redeemed, and probably the office of the governor can enjoy the kind of respect and the trust which was very much in the minds of the constitution makers. Of course, they did not allow for the governors of the state being directly elected, because India has a parliamentary system, and a directly elected governor would have been too powerful. There would have been two power centers, the governor and the chief minister. So that's why we have the position of the appointment. But the appointment should not be merely a political appointment. Governors should be appointed as a non-political appointments, and governor should not be seen as a political functionary. He should be seen as an eminent person who wants to have a better kind of harmonious center-state relations, and who can contribute in the running of the state administration by his vast experience, by his caliber, by his high stature. Another thing which I wanted to say, and that is that the governor should not act in haste. Like whenever the chief minister, because Supreme Court has also given a ruling that whenever the chief minister has lost the majority, the governor can accept the resignation, but the governor should ask the chief minister to continue in office, and the governor should act on the advice of a chief minister and the council of ministers, even if the chief minister has lost the majority. He becomes a caretaker chief minister, and then the governor should keep on looking for an alternative, a person who can give a stable government. So there should not be an attempt on the part of the governor to simply go for the direct method of dismissing the government and ordering the dissolution of the state assembly. There should be every attempt on the part of the governor to continue the state legislative assembly. Maybe it can be kept in a suspension, and to look for the alternative arrangement once a particular government, a particular chief minister, a council of minister has lost the majority. So governor, because the constitution is very clear when it says that the governor shall act on the advice of the council of minister, that means that the constitution makers wanted that the governor should always act on the advice of the council of minister. Of course, the Article 356, as far as the 356 is concerned, it should have been under a very extraordinary situation. But what has happened in India, with the connivance of the complicity of the governor, on the flimsy ground, on a smaller ground, the governors have been asked to give the report, negative report, and then the state governments have been dismissed. Like in 1977, when Janata Party came to power, it dismissed all the Congress government. And likewise in 1980, when the Congress Party came back to power, it dismissed all the Janata Party government from the distinct states. So this kind of vindication, or whenever there is a new government at the center, they try to remove the governors who have been appointed by the previous government. There was such attempt in the recent time also, which does not set the happy precedent. Then the governors are seen, they should not be seen as political appointees, they should be seen as people of eminence who have been entrusted with this task of governorship because of their eminence, because of their qualification, and they should not be disturbed during their tenure, and they should not be really forced to act in a certain manner by the central government, and that only then we can have better federal system. Otherwise, whenever there is a tension, a stress, the conflict between the governor and the chief minister, the entire administration gets vitiated, the atmosphere gets vitiated, and it doesn't really help. Likewise, the governor should not unnecessarily reserve the bill for the assent consideration of the president until unless there is a dire need to do that. Otherwise, there is always a situation of confrontation and the government doesn't really work. As far as the legislature is concerned, the state legislature is concerned, legislative councils have not been really performing well. One can see that same like governor, the legislative council has also become the house where the rejected politicians, the defeated politicians, and all those, the favorites of the powers, they get elected through backdoor, and they remain there, and the legislative councils have been really very ineffective in most of the states in performing their task. So as such, there is a need to rethink about the role of the legislative council, which is a major drain on the state exchequer. So there should be an appraisal about the role of this legislative council, whether they are performing their task, whether they are not really becoming superfluous. And so it would be really not fair to compare the legislative council with the Rajya Sabha, because Rajya Sabha has been doing a good job.